Supersports aren't dead yet. Kawasaki just revealed the 2024 ZX-6R, the last of its kind, and we are going to take a closer look and see how it stacks up against the Aprilia RS660, the best of the new dominating middleweight sport bike class that overthrew the Supersport reign. Power-wise, the track-oriented ZX-6R, which has a high-revving engine with more cylinders, naturally produces more horsepower, precisely 24 more ponies than the RS660. The RS660, which is also track-inspired, is not heavily leaning toward track use as much as the ZX-6R, and chooses to be more balanced for track and road use with a more flexible engine and broad power band where most of its power can be extracted at much lower rev range. Both bikes have almost similar torque output, with the ZX-6R making 2 Nm more than the RS660, but again, you need to crank the engine up at higher RPM to get the most of it. If we compare the latest ZX-6R with the previous older gen, the new one makes 6 horsepower and 1 Nm less than the older generation because there are some changes made, such as lower peak RPM, revised cam profiles, tuned injectors, a new intake funnel design, piston skirts with molybdenum to reduce friction, and a redesigned exhaust and header to meet the new stricter emission regulation standard and to increase performance lower down in the rev range. In terms of weight, the compact RS660, with its aluminum swing arm and lithium battery, is 14 kilograms lighter than the ZX-6R. But for the power-to-weight ratio, the ZX-6R's bigger horsepower managed to compensate for its weight, with a 14% higher power-to-weight ratio than the Aprilia. When it comes to price, both bikes are in the same price range, with the ZX-6R being $800 more expensive than the RS660. Kawasaki also offers a less expensive ZX-6R version for the US market at a $1,000 cheaper price by ditching the ABS brake. Kawasaki chose to continue using the old inline-4 engine, same as the previous gen, but with some minor tweaks to meet the new stricter emission standards and to increase performance in the low to mid-range, while the RS660 is powered by a 270-degree parallel twin, which is basically the front half of the V4 1100cc engine from the RS V4. The intake path, combustion chamber, different length intake manifold, and, in fact, the entire cylinder head borrow heavily from the RS V4, but with new casings and molds, of course. The RS660 displacement is slightly larger than the Ninja by 23cc. Both have a short stroke layout, with the RS660 using a similar bore size as the Aprilia RS V4. The RS660 compression ratio comes in at 13.5 to 1, slightly higher than the ZX-6R, and both bikes are liquid-cooled. Both Kawasaki and Aprilia use a double overhead cam setup with 4 valves per cylinder for the valve train. And powers are passed through a 6-speed wet multiplate clutch, complete with assist and slipper clutch, which should yield a light lever pull and smoother downshift. The ZX-6R comes with a bigger fuel tank but also gulps fuel much more than the RS660. The claimed fuel consumption numbers provided by the manufacturers show that ZX-6R consumption is 19% higher than the Aprilia. In terms of electronics and rider aids, this is where the RS660 sets itself apart from the competition. The Aprilia is packed with state-of-the-art electronics that are not commonly found in middleweight bikes. The new ZX-6R did introduce some new features that the previous generation didn't have, but it's still not enough to compete with the Aprilia. The ZX-6R comes with basic features such as ABS brakes but lacks modern features such as an IMU and ride-by-wire system. Even the smaller ZX-4RR comes with ride-by-wire, but the ZX-6R doesn't. Both have riding modes and traction control, but the ZX-6R's TC and riding modes are integrated and cannot be adjusted individually. With no IMU, the ZX-6R lacks wheelie control and engine brake control, and with no ride-by-wire, the ZX-6R gets a quickshifter only with no auto blipper. The RS660 is equipped with cruise control as standard, and both bikes have a TFT display. The Ninja finally beat the Aprilia this round with multimedia and smartphone connectivity features that come as standard, while the Aprilia doesn't. The ZX-6R's wheelbase is slightly longer. Both have the same tire profile and size for the rear and front. The ZX-6R seat height is slightly higher by 1 cm, and the RS660 width is larger by 3.5 cm, possibly due to its wider and higher handlebar. The riding positions of both bikes are quite different. The ZX-6R's riding position is much more aggressive. The handlebars are far and low, and the foot peg position is high, which is great for racing and track days but not so much for commuting. Compared to the ZX-6R, the RS660 is more of a road bike than a track bike. The riding position is more upright and comfy, which is perfect for newer riders that want to step up the sports bike ladder, or maybe for older riders who still want the thrill of a sports bike without the aches and pains. Chassis-wise, the new Ninja ZX-6R still uses the same aluminum perimeter die-cast frame as before, and the RS660 uses the same type of frame, the aluminum perimeter. Front suspension duties on both bikes are handled by a fully adjustable 41mm upside-down fork. Kawasaki chose the Showa SFFBP, while Aprilia relies on KYB. For rear suspension, both use monoshocks, with the ZX-6R's shock being slightly better because of its fully adjustable capability, while the RS660 shock can only be dialed for preload and rebound. The RS660 gets a more expensive and lighter lithium battery as standard, while the ZX-6R uses the cost-effective lead-acid battery. Brake-wise, both bikes have dual 4-piston radial mount calipers, with Kawasaki using new round 310mm brake discs that replace the old pedal-type discs it's been using for ages, to keep it in line with the ZX-10R. The diameter of the ZX-6R disc brakes is slightly smaller by 10mm, and then the RS660 comes with braided brake lines as standard.